So Father Diego is in the confessional right now for anyone who'd love to receive that beautiful sacrament of mercy. So throughout the Mass, he'll be in there. So today, as we celebrate Father's Day, I think back in my own life, the gift of my father and just his sacrificial love for me in different ways. And in a particular way, I was thinking about my younger brothers right now, who are fathers. One of them is father of 3 little girls, and the other one is 6 little kids, 3 little girls, 3 little boys. And one of them, the one with the 6, has this plaque in his kitchen that I think sums up a father's heart. It says, "I will walk over Legos for you." Anyone's ever maybe had that kind of experience? And I have this image of my brother Daniel, this one with the 6 little ones, and he was so exhausted once. He wasn't sleeping or anything, and I just remember him just crawling on the living room floor. He's like, "I can't even stand," and he's putting away Duplos, and he's like stepping on, this little sword point of a Lego castle figure or whatever, and he's like, "Ah!" He's like, "But I'm in love." He's exhausted, but he's in love. And I think that there's something with that about the heart of a father. So as a priest, I need those powerful images of fathers of families to help me understand, how do I walk over Legos in exhaustion for my children? And in the same way, fathers of families, having an image of those spiritual fathers who walk with us, also help to be able to discover, what does it mean to have the heart of a father? It's beautiful how those vocations of father of a family and spiritual father of the priesthood actually work together in beautiful ways. And so I want to share with you the story of these 2 men. They were parish priests. They were Marians of the Immaculate Conception. They died during World War II, and they are powerful images of what does it mean to have a father's heart. Their feast day was on the 12th of June, and so I want to share about some of my Marian brothers who are with the Lord in heaven right now. Their names are Blessed Anthony Leszkiewicz, so try saying that 5 times fast. There you go. And Blessed George Kashira. So Father Anthony and Father George. They took care of a place in Belarus in the 1940s, a little village parish, probably like our old St. Mary's, probably about that size. And everything was pretty peaceful until the Second World War rolled in, and you have on the Eastern Front the German army and the Russian army battling over this area. And Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, all of those areas are in the middle of this battle. Now, in this particular village, some of the villagers were helping some of the partisan fighters, the insurgents, fighting against the German army. And the German army wanted to punish that village. And so they sent the SS soldiers that were specifically designed on punishing villages into that little town of Druya. And they came and they stopped first at the door of the priests. And they knocked. And they said, "Fathers, our fight isn't with you right now. You have the freedom to just go, run away. Just leave us to exterminate this village, and we won't touch you." So they had the freedom just to run away. And guess what they said? "We're priests. We're fathers. This is our family. This is our flock. We're not going to abandon them now." And the SS soldiers said, "It's your funeral." So a couple days later, they started this horrible process of gathering whole families bringing them into barns, having grenades go in, flames go up, and little by little, all of the village started to disappear. Father Anthony was one of those first to die with his people, his flock. And there are eyewitness accounts of what was he doing in the midst of that barn. He was holding the little children's hands, saying, "Don't be afraid." He was hearing confessions for all the people there. And he was reminding them through sacred scripture to trust in the Lord with all your heart. And he died in the midst of that, with his people being light in the darkness. Father George heard of Father Anthony's death and said, "Father Anthony is dead, and tomorrow I will be." He just had that sense that this would be his last night. And so what did he do for his last night? He went into his chapel before the Eucharist. He lied down on the ground in the form of a cross, and he prayed the whole night that his heart would be ready to receive this call to lay down his life for the sheep. And so in the morning, there were sisters that were around, religious sisters. They were able to gather for Mass. Father Anthony celebrated his last Mass. He then took all of the Eucharist in the tabernacle and for the last time gave Holy Communion. Once the tabernacle was empty, he heard the knock at the door. The SS soldiers had come, and he was carried away to suffer that same fate of his people. Later on, they found his remains, and they could only find his arm. But guess what his arm was holding? A rosary. He prayed the rosary with his family until death. These two men were beatified by St. John Paul II, and they are powerful witnesses of that heart of a father who has the option to run out of the fight, and yet they humbly and full of light and mercy and peace charge right into the battle. This is a lot of what the gospel's saying here. Jesus is seeing this harvest, and yet he's seeing a whole flock that they are abandoned without a shepherd. And he sends these 12 apostles to bring that healing to them. That's what he did with Father Anthony and Father George. And that's what he does for every single man. In your DNA as men, you are called to step into the gap. You are called, like a firefighter, when the house is burning, not to run away, but to run right into those in need. And I think in our particular day and age, we need to be reminded of this authentic masculinity, because there are forces within our world and within our culture, within our nation, that are trying to put masculinity into question. And sometimes we find these two versions that are sort of false versions of masculinity. One, let's call it the Homer Simpson masculinity. The other one, Hulk Hogan beer muscles masculinity. The Homer Simpson, as funny as he is in many ways, there's sort of an interesting thing in which it seems like we're starting little by little, even though we're broken in culture in so many ways, there are these very powerful father figures that are starting to come up in different movies, like the new Spider-Man movie, or even The Mandalorian. These are images that I think our culture in some way is saying we need to share this image again of authentic masculinity, because we've been too much in the Homer Simpson model of what it means to be a man as just the bumbling idiot that just doesn't know what he's doing. He can't lead, he can't guide, he can't fight. He's just kind of in his own little world. And I think that there's a way in which young men growing up in society have maybe in some way been trained in that sense. Or it goes to the other side, the beer muscles masculinity, which is like the 2-year-old that's saying, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, growing up to be a man, but still is the 2-year-old. That's like the professional wrestler Hulk Hogan style. Both of those are not authentic masculinity. You know where you find authentic masculinity, like Father George and Father Anthony, is actually in St. Joseph. St. Joseph is this powerful blend of having the tenderness to care for the lily, to care for the child, while at the same time having his hand like this to darkness, saying, you cannot touch the vulnerable. It's that kind of strength that God gives us St. Joseph as an image of what it means to be a man, to have strength, to fight for what is good, true, and beautiful, to fight for those who cannot speak for themselves and those who are vulnerable, to stand in the gap and to place the hand saying, darkness, you cannot pass, to be a defender in the light. But to do it not with the beer muscles, but to do it with a tenderness, a strength, a surrendering to God, saying, you, Lord, be my strength. I can't do this on my own. Think of the men who were called to be these first spiritual fathers. They had a lot of issues going on. You have Simon the Zealot, which means he's a little too intense. You have Matthew, the tax collector, who had a whole life of working with the Romans to swindle his own people. You have Simon Peter the fisherman, who said a lot of very colorful metaphors. And yet the Lord sends them out. In the midst of their brokenness, he empowers them to stand in the gap for others. Father George, Blessed George Kashira, he struggled in a lot of different habits. He apparently was a very nervous guy. He even was like a chain smoker because he had to do something with his nervousness. And so he had his own issues going on. And yet, the Lord gave him strength when the fire started to come, and when he could have, even in the midst of his nervousness, said, I'm out of here. He actually went into the battle and lived out that fatherhood until the end. So let's ask the Lord, especially for the men of our world, the men of our parish, the men who are present here, that we can learn, we can be reforged in his heart, in Joseph's heart. Because remember that Joseph is the one that God the Father gave to Jesus to be the image of the Father as Jesus Christ was growing up. And if Jesus had him as that image, then I bet God the Father made him pretty well, with a blend of strength and power, but never used for oneself, always laying down one's life, walking over the Legos to help those in need. St. Joseph, Blessed Anthony, and Blessed George, pray for us.